I like to show you something that is a little bit unusual, than the ordinary. Let's have a look at the brand new Tamiya kit, all the stuff. Also, I can do it absolutely. When I take the model, usually I do the stuff, I don't make it for for other purposes, I just make it if I get the model. And that's why I like to present you something a little bit special sometimes on my channel, because I think that if you come here, you want to see something a little bit different than the ordinary stuff that you can find all over online with those YouTubers making all the reviews. So this time it is this interesting model by DDP Models. DDP Models is an Italian company that makes very interesting range of racers, mostly around the 60s and the 70s. And that's why, being a GT40 Model Works, my company, we are so much close to the same interest of the same cars, but I personally know the guy from DDP Model, and he's older than me, so of course he have a higher knowledge about those vehicles than mine. I usually have the knowledge when I start to study one vehicle that I want to reproduce in scale, and that I want to do the model of it, so I don't know all the anthology about what was going on back in time with those cars. Instead, this other guy that is also named Paolo, like I am, Pier Paolo, is a very close friend, extremely kindly guy, always positive, always available for tips and so on. And it's one of the few guys on around, that is not a dickhead. It's very common to find dickheads in this sector. Even if they are young guys, they think that they know everything, they know that they are the best one, and then you never see one models of them. Instead, no, Pierpaolo is a very skilled guy. All the model that you see on his box it is model that he made, and you can say it could be make better, it could make worse, but every time you present his model by himself, and this is absolutely a great plus in my opinion. So this is a very interesting model that he recently do. There is some slightly issues, with these DDP models. The first one, that is probably a very good point for him, it is that is quite difficult to find them, because the production is, I don't know if it is just limited or there is an high request of that, but it's constantly quite difficult to find them for sale around, and it's very interesting when you can get one. For example, this was a model that I took from him. It is one of the last evolution of a 908 Porsche, the Tergal version, and we ended in the Tergal version because when I asked him, at the beginning I wanted to have probably the Gulf car, the famous 908 VK4 car, I think it was, with the Gulf sponsorship over, but it was sold out already. Then I asked for the Toblerone car, Toblerone, the Swiss chocolate, and also that was completely sold out. So this was really the last one he had available of the 908, and I deeply wanted to have it because it's very interesting Porsche, I think probably nearly all of you know the story about the car. The real Porsche was an evolution of, after they started to make the 906, the 910, the 908 was the last one, and they had very different features, So under the name of 908 you can find Barchetta types like this one with a short wheelbase, and you can find as well a longer version, like the first 908 featuring the V8 engine, and with a much longer wheelbase and closed coupe body. So completely different, looking like much more like a 906 or a 910, and instead it was a 908. So the biggest difference was indeed around the engine, Probably the one of the most famous and infamous 908 on the market, it was the quite old Heller kit, that was completely off scale. Then we discover, and I still think can be misunderstood, of a picture, that probably was a specific version used sometimes with a completely different bulged cockpit. But the real 908, and he made also that, I think I also made a review of the ordinary 908, he made time ago, even made by DDP, and let's see what it is inside. So this is absolutely one of the most important racing Porsches ever. If you try to Google around and find the history about the real 908, it was really mighty cars, and it was a real pure racer. So they combine the chassis of the Berg Spider with powerful V8. So they was something that, for example, was weighing 600 kilos, featuring nearly 400 horsepower. So it was incredibly powerful to be a racer, you know. And inside the model, I already cleaned that from all the chips, you know, the wrapping that there is inside. So I just keep it a little more. First of all, we see that the model is quite complete, you know. It provides full models and always provided with resin part. Then we will look about the body, the wheels, metal rims and so on, vacuum formed parts for the transparent. This is a little bit sad that they didn't provide at least a couple of them, you know, because it's always a little bit tricky, at least for me, to cut the transparent part, but they are incredibly well done and quite clear, you know. Plus quite well detailed front and transparent front lights, you know. They are coming from the spare accessories for 124 and 143 scale, you know. I have the same one. And minor part, you know, of course I have still to clean everything. There is the Le Mans tail light. This was this Tergal version was car racing at Le Mans in 1972. As well as here, for example, there is some pins for the chassis and the same parts for the quite well done, you know, molded in white metal for the inner chassis, for the part that you can see of the chassis, you know. The main body is this one. Let's have a look. Wait a little. Remember always, this is the last one that I could get from him. So this is the main body, you see. As you can see, it's a barchetta type. There is a little bit folded there, but that is not a mistake. It is just the part that is behind the seat. And minor wrapping and bubbles on the tail, but is nothing impossible to correct, you know, of course. Being meant like the 917 cars, you know, all the motor was exposed, you know, all the V8. But down here, you know, when you have all the rear frame chassis, you do not see so much about the real motor, you know, also because the V8 has I think it was a boxer 8. It was not a really V. It was an open V, 180 degrees probably, you know, like they say the V12 that is basically a boxer engine, you know. Different between a boxer and V motors is about the combination of the pistons and the sequence of the pistons. So it changes really sometimes the definition of that, you know. But the cast is quite well done, you know. Of course, all the panel line, in my opinion, can be engraved a little more with a blade, you know, to make it more deeper, you know. But the overall shape is absolutely taken, you know. So this is it. And of course there was different combination, because already if you take a Golf car, the Golf car didn't have the front lights. This was a cut that they made back in time. I remember that I read somewhere that the entire body shell of fiberglass of this car was weighing 20 kilos, you know, because it was basically just a piece of fiberglass placed over the tube frame chassis under, you know. So it was basically an engine with the pilot and a little part of fiberglass to give aerodynamics, you know. The model is also complete with the dimes to paint. This is very good to be used, you know, the Goodyear, still not Goodyear Eagle. In that time they were just Goodyear, so it's absolutely good to make the proper painting over the wheels, you know. And this is, you see, specific version. He made first of all a set for all the cars that he provided. So generical 908 by /3, then there is a specific photo etch set for the Toblerone car, and a specific set for the Tergal car. So it's incredibly good that he anyway leaves everything, you know, on the plate, so you can have anyway all the photo etch that you need, maybe for lockers and for other minor parts that are always interesting to find in such models, you know. The decals are quite good, and they are also protected by a film over there. It's quite simple because of course the Tergal sponsorship, this was a sponsorship of the 70s, So you basically have to paint the two combo color of yellow and green, look like the BP sponsorship. Basically the colors are the same, you know. I have to check a little bit better if the shade of the color is exactly like BP or is slightly different. And it's quite difficult for me to find real official pictures of the time of the car. So there is not so much stuff. That's why Paolo probably is very useful. If you ask for it to him, he probably can provide some good options, you know, as well as probably can provide also the images of his own build, and you can absolutely do it without any major problems. This is another smaller part of the small debris, you know, the fire extinguisher, the alternator, the distribution. So quite nicely done. This is the final part. Do not consider so many wheels, because I had an issue with the wheels here. So in the first time I wanted to add some slick tires, you know, because I have to study if they ever raced with slick tires and so on. But of course he provide his original one with the putter, you know. Cars of the 70s were famous because they had the putter. It's interesting that, as you can see, the main sprocket wheel, the 5-star wheel on the front and on the rear was exactly the same that I had. Those are the wheels of mine, of my Porsche R7, R911 RS R7 that I just produced in these days. So this is basically the set that you will find inside my car. And as you can see, basically the dimension of the rear wheels is basically the same, you know. Just the main difference was that, different from the group where the R7 was racing that had slick tires, those other had pattern tires. So that was the main big issues different, you know. And they provide them in a soft rubber that is quite reliable, because until now all the models that I have from DDP never had a crack, never had a failure about this rubber. So probably found a real way to make them in the proper cast without any surprises, you know. This is the trumpets over the V8 engine. There is also the possibility to start for a very huge detailing part, mostly of the stuff that remain visible over there. So probably just the wiring and the distribution. So it's nothing so complicated, you know. And yes, I think it's absolutely interesting. You know, as you can see, look how thin it is. The rear blades there, they are absolutely well done. And the plastic is nearly transparent, you know. Probably is made in the same way that they made my casting, in the same identical way. So it's absolutely a pleasure to work with, and the resin is high quality resin, so you don't have any nasty surprise like with the 3D kits that sometimes they used to wrap or folder or by their own mistake to start to leak oil. So there is no surprises. Using this type of resin is absolutely the best you can do. So the model is highly recommended, and as I say, the guy is also totally reliable. It is not so common in this sector to have a producer that are also very skilled modeler. And so my opinion is that when you find an article from DDP model, is, as I said in the beginning of my video, specialized in making cars typical from the 60s and the 70s. I think it don't arrive to the 80s, you know, because it's not easier, it's not easy in interest, you know. And my tip is, if you see the advertisement in Facebook, in Instagram or where else, and you find a car that you like, go immediately for it. Don't wait, because it's very easy to lose them. I already, a couple of them I lost, and I don't know if you make a reprinting of them. Usually you do like I do, and we don't do reprinting of the articles, you know. Even if an article is highly requested, the production was one, and when the production is done, this is not something that you can find like in Tamiya catalog, that after a while it's not that you start again the machine and then they make it again the production of the model. This is completely different way of making models, so I don't think really that is so easy to find them in the future. Of course you can find them like a used model, you know, but usually, as we can see with that model from Alpha Model, completely different stuff. That is a modern racer Porsche, but the models start to be extremely more expensive, you know. When I paid this model, I think I paid this less than 100, nearly $200, you know. And right now they are in eBay. I found them around 500 euros, you know, in Japan, and it's very difficult to find them too. So this is the same identical story, you know, just the subject should be on your taste. And this Porsche, you know, it's a Porsche, 70s Porsche, Le Mans 72, legendary edition of Le Mans, is absolutely a must for me. So I absolutely wanted to have it, and go for it. If you like Porsches, go absolutely for it and contact the company and let's see if it can help you and find still something. From what I knew at the time this video is making in the end of November 2024, this was the last one that he had on in the stash. So I don't know if you have other models of other version. As well as I know, probably not, but if you want it, if you like the model, give it a try. Give it a try. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next one.